I was just going to see if the lapel might work, but it doesn't seem to be on. But just getting me to stand still is very unnatural. I'm an animated talker. So we're really excited to be here tonight. We're really excited to be working on this project. As President Skorton just said, it's something that is really a project about hitting the ground running. It's about getting started immediately, not waiting until we can open a campus here on Roosevelt Island in 2017, but starting to impact the economy of New York and the nation this year, next year, and every year forward. Higher education in the country right now is really facing a number of challenges and opportunities. If you look at job creation in the country, this is good, I got all these people that stand up. So if you look at job creation in this country right now, it's been a serious challenge over the last several years. A lot of Americans are very challenged to find good jobs. The technology sector is one of the few sectors of the nation's economy that has continued to produce lots of high-quality jobs. And it's very important as leading universities in the country that we continue to work closely with industry and to develop new models for university and industry collaboration to produce more jobs in the technology sector that, as the Congresswoman said at the beginning, then create many other jobs to support that. And that's really what this campus is fundamentally about. So, as Mayor Bloomberg and Deputy Mayor Steele and EDC President Seth Pinsky so carefully outlined in the RFP that they put together, we're really at a point in the United States right now where there's this incredible opportunity to build the 21st century economy. And New York City is unbelievably positioned for that. As we look at the technology sector nationally and internationally, it's shifting towards a technology sector where it's more and more important to develop technology in close collaboration with the people who are going to be using that technology. The way I'm a technologist, I like to make fun of technologists as one, and I think the world that all of us have been living in is a world in which technologists have developed technology for technologists instead of for the rest of us. And that's both been wonderful, we have all this great technology, but it's also continually a frustration. The tech world is starting to change, and New York City is the best place to do that, because it's the best place for technologists to work in close collaboration with people in the cultural sector and various kinds of businesses and education and healthcare, all of these places that use and depend on technology. So this campus is fundamentally different from existing technology campuses. It's about partnerships between people in the technology sector, the commercial sector, and various areas of the economy and daily life. Cornell and Technion, as President Skorton said in his earlier remarks, are two institutions that have long histories of delivering in the technology sector and are well positioned to do this. And since David already took my numbers, I will just show you the little animation here. So the idea is we're bringing together two of the world's strongest technology universities, not just here in New York City, but here on Roosevelt Island. And one of the things that's very important about what we're doing is that we're developing a technology-oriented campus that's globally focused, nationally focused, focused on the state, focused on the city, focused on the local community. Technology development is happening more and more all around the globe. The United States has long been the education leader, long been the technology leader. Those are not things that we can take for granted as a nation. And so in developing this international partnership, in a global partnership in one of the most global cities, we're working to bring the very best talent and technology from around the world here to Roosevelt Island, here to New York City, to develop new companies and to train the talent that's so desperately needed for technology companies in New York. I know it's hard to believe often against the background of the general job situation, but companies in New York City and nationally have thousands and thousands of unfilled jobs for people with master's level education in technology fields. We're not producing enough students in these areas to drive these technology companies and to drive drive the growth of these companies that will help the rest of the economy grow. And that's really what this campus is fundamentally about. So when we look at the development of this campus, we think about what we call the technology ecosystem. The fact that there are the very, very small young technology companies often where the people there are working with no pay. They're doing it on the side while they have another job. They sort of took the plunge and quit their job to become an entrepreneur. The two people sitting at the kitchen table or sitting in a local coffee shop, up to the companies that have tens of employees, thousands of employees, tens of thousands of employees. And it's all of those levels that are incredibly important to a healthy system that produces and grows new technology jobs. And the campus that we're going to build is going to interact with companies at all of those levels. So we will have incubator spaces here, right on the campus, where small companies, young entrepreneurs will be getting their companies started. We'll have facilities for bigger companies to spend time and have their employees working closely with the students. One of the things that we're going to do on this campus is have every student not just have a faculty advisor, right? This is a graduate level campus, so every student has a faculty advisor. They will also have a mentor from industry to tie them not only to real industrial problems, but to tie them to the industry here in New York City, so that the students who are educated here stay here and create jobs here and improve the economy here in New York City. So, by our economic modeling, we expect this campus over the next 30 years to produce a minimum of 30,000 permanent jobs and up to 100,000 or more permanent jobs through the companies and the technologies that will spin out. We view the F train as a sort of technology corridor in New York City. If you think about downtown Brooklyn, Dumbo, the tech companies there, then coming up 6th Avenue, you're heading near Union Square and Chelsea and the Flatiron, where there are a lot of tech companies, and then here, where there's going to be the new tech campus, and then into Long Island City, Queens, where there's an incredible opportunity for the companies that will spin off from this campus to locate themselves and build the local community in Western Queens, the economic development in Western Queens. So the key ingredients here, and the word that we keep mentioning is talent. It's attracting and retaining and producing the people who will staff these companies and drive economic development in New York. And that's fundamentally what this campus is about, is bringing the very, very best talent from around the world and then exposing them both to a world-class education, but also to ties to the business community. The organization of this campus, which I'll get to on the next slide, is around interdisciplinary programming that we're calling hubs. It's almost a little cliche in the university world today to say interdisciplinary. Everybody claims that they're interdisciplinary, but I think you'll see in a moment that the breadth of disciplines we're talking about here, where we're talking about engineers and computer scientists working with social scientists and artists, it's a very, very broad range of interdisciplinary studies, because technology today touches on so many different domains. So we'll have graduate students at the PhD level and at the master's level. These will be students receiving Cornell degrees or students enrolled in dual degree programs where they receive both a Cornell and a Technion degree. The curriculum is extremely innovative, both training students in the technical skills that they need and also training them in the broader skills that they need to apply that technology to real problems. And I can speak both as an educator and as a founder of my own small business about 10 years ago, technology business, that it's incredibly important when you train students to have them have that kind of exposure and breadth to how to apply the technology. And that's really the way we're designing this campus. And interspersed throughout this are the deep connections to New York City, the Cornell alumni base, which is unbelievably enthusiastic about this and will provide ties, the ties to local companies, the ties to the local community. So as I said, we're organizing this campus in a very different way. It's not going to have the traditional departments of computer science or electrical engineering or sociology or psychology. It's organized around these interdisciplinary areas that are tied to industries in New York. Connective media to the media and advertising industries, healthier life to the healthcare and insurance, kinds of industries and the built environment. Here we are in the middle of one of the most amazing built environments in the world, where there are huge challenges to make this environment more sustainable, more environmentally friendly, easier to live in on a day-to-day basis. So this is a startup. And in fact, the way I describe this to people is that it's a startup within a university in partnership with a government. And those of you who know about startups need to be nimble and quick and move fast. Neither universities nor governments are known for that. And I think that the amazing thing about the Bloomberg administration and the EDC has been the incredible degree of nimbleness that they've worked, of the schedule that they've worked on. I think that Deputy Mayor Steele really undersold the effort that they put in. They went from not understanding about universities to being some of the world's experts about universities and what universities could do in 6 months. I've never seen anything like it. A+. And I don't give A pluses very easily. I'm one of those B+ kind of graders. But I think that the real challenge that we have here, when people say, what keeps you up at night, it's that we need to work at a very, very nimble pace, in a deep partnership with the mothership, Maine University, with the community, and with the city. So with this, I'd like to turn it over to my partner here, Cathy Dove, who a number of you already know, and Cathy's the Vice President for the campus.
Thank you, Dan. So does technology work? Can you all hear me? Because I'm like Dan, I'd much rather walk around. Let me know, wave a hand or something if you'd rather have me stand at the podium. Too loud? How's that? Better? Stand at the podium. We listen to the community. Anyway, I know it's very bad form to disagree with your boss, but President Skorton has his back to me, so maybe he's not listening. I know he said something about the party being over, but I have to tell you, I've really been looking forward to this meeting because in my mind, the party is just beginning. And we are so looking forward to working with this community on our collective campus. So thank you for having us, and you'll be seeing a lot of us, I was going to say in the next few years, actually, in the decades to come. So I'm going to just tell you a little bit about where we are. And you've heard from the whole team that this has been an amazing fast-track progress. And so I need to manage expectations. We are just starting. We are very much in listening mode. This is the start of a formal, broader-based community listening, but it hasn't been the start of a number of conversations that I and others have had in the 2 months, actually, since we've started planning this campus in a very serious way. I spent a lot of time talking to individuals, small community groups. Our entire team has, and a lot of that is going to continue as we really take a step back and plan this campus thoughtfully so that it's something we can all be proud of in the decades to come. As Dan said, it's been about 90 days since we started, and as of about noon, it was 2 employees, but in true startup mode, at about 1 o'clock this afternoon, we added a third to our workforce. We're growing by leaps and bounds, and actually Sandra Roberts, I don't know if she's here, but she is our third employee, and we're delighted to have her. You'll be seeing a lot of her also. She's going to be part of our staff. Planning is really taking 3 pieces. Dan talked a lot about the academic programs. I want to touch on community programs, and then I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the campus itself. Community programs was a really important part of our organization, and as President Skorton mentioned, it is part of our DNA. This is what Cornell does. We're a member of the community. We want to contribute to the community. We're getting ideas right now about how we can be most effective, not just in the Roosevelt Island community, but in New York in general. I will tell you, and I'd be happy to answer questions later, that we are committed to one important element of our community outreach being working with the K-12 program. And that includes the schools here on Roosevelt Island. So we're just, again, starting those conversations. We want to be very thoughtful as to how we engage with some of these programs. There's a number of different ways we think we can be helpful and good contributors, but we want to hear from all of you. So now let me talk a little bit about the campus. How many of you have seen this? The image has been out before. So there's only one. This was the image we used for our proposal, and it's fabulous. And we think it's visionary, and it captures a lot of the elements we think will eventually be seen on the campus. But there's only one thing I can tell you for sure about this image. The campus will not look like this when it's done. Many of the elements will look like this, and I'll talk about a few of them in a moment. But the buildings will change, and this was a conceptualized image of what we thought the campus should look like before we started having all these community discussions. We have a fabulous set of architects we've been working with, and we're now going through what we're calling our campus planning project. During the proposal process, we thought it was very important to take a step back and say, what is our vision for this community, for this campus and for the community? And so what I want to do tonight, instead of showing you what the campus is going to look like, because we don't know that yet, I really want to take a moment to highlight what we think the principles are for the campus and get some of your feedback. This is what we think is most important as we think about the campus. So first is obvious, a landmark for both New York City and Roosevelt Island. This is just a phenomenal place, Roosevelt Island, as you know better than we do. And we want to respect the island, and we want to do it proud. So that's first and foremost. A citywide core for innovation is exactly what Dan and others have been talking about, so I won't get in there. We are committed to being a neighbor to all of you, and a neighbor to the community. I want to talk for a minute about an open, interconnected campus, though. It is our commitment that this campus be accessible and be a resource for the entire Roosevelt Island and actually broader community. So as we think about actual designs, open space is an incredibly important element to that. How you get on and off the campus, how you enjoy the campus. It's taken a number of our discussions right now. We're spending a lot of time focusing on open space and the community elements, and you'll see a lot of green space. Net zero is a portion you may have heard about, we've talked a lot about. Cornell in general is extraordinarily committed to sustainability. We have strict sustainability goals on our Ithaca campus, and this will be no different here. We're members of this community. We have a huge opportunity here to do right and to do good and to do green. So our aspiration is for the first academic building to be what we call net zero. And what that means is we consume less energy over the course of a year than we generate. And so that's driving a lot of our thinking about the campus design itself. When you think about sustainability issues, everything from shadows of buildings to where the sun is, and to all these other things that the engineers in the audience, I'm sure, could say in a far more articulate way than I can. But it really is an important element as you think about planning a campus, and sustainability and green is first and foremost. Finally, and this is going to be as important to us as it is to all of you, I think you know that this campus, the plan is to be built out over 25 or 30 years. We don't want to feel like we're in a construction zone for 25 or 30 years. So we are being very thoughtful about how to make the campus feel as complete as it can every step of the way. So that, again, it's a beautiful, attractive place in between phases of construction. So what this vision did is it led to a set of a campus framework, for lack of a better term. And some of these touch on what I just mentioned, but I'll go through some of them. The first one is the river-to-river experience. The Cornell property will be inside the road boundaries, but we truly think about the river-to-river experience, as all of you do when you walk around the island. So how does this tie in with the Esplanade and with all the experiences that people are going to have going up and down the Esplanade, or going down the road, or going down a bike lane that's on the road, walking to Four Freedoms Park. So this is very much a part of our thinking. I mentioned open spaces, and I won't touch on that again. I'm going to show you a rendering in a minute that will highlight a little bit of what I'm talking about. The north-south pedestrian spine, one of the things we've been doing is taking a look at the history of Roosevelt Island and what's currently on the island. So it's important to us to build a campus that respects the rest of the island, as well as Queens and Manhattan on either side. This is, no pun intended, not an island. So what we're doing is we've taken a look at how Roosevelt Island has been planned in the past. There have been some fabulous master plans done, and the intention of the island. One of our concepts is to build what we're calling a tech walk down the middle of the campus that in a lot of ways is very compatible with Main Street in the middle of the island. Again, kind of continuing the same thought process that Johnson and others did when they did the master plan. Finally, a living and welcoming campus. That goes without saying. That's not just for people on the campus, but it's for all of us that are going to be using the campus. And we do hope this is a huge community resource. So I need you for a minute. How many in the audience are architects? Okay, so the rest of you are like me. You have to squint when you see something like this. We don't have beautiful renderings yet because we're still in a planning and a listening and a idea phase. But what I wanted to show you is the actual plot of land that is the campus, and show you a little bit of where our thought process on open spaces and buildings. I don't know if this does it. Oh, it does. Okay. So as you've all heard, we will open our doors in 2017. And our first building will be an iconic academic building. This will house all the wonderful activities that Dan was talking about. Now when you look at these shapes, the building may not necessarily be rectangular, it may be round, it may be oval, it may be eccentric in many ways. We're in the process of hiring an architect who will start thinking about these things. But what I wanted to show you is that it's going to be placed on the north end of the site. This is Manhattan, and this is Queens. Our goal is to be building north to south, so again, you feel like you've got a campus at any step of the way. The second building will be what we're calling a partner R&D building. Dan mentioned how important it is to have corporate partners to help with the innovation process. So folks from the tech sector will be on our campus working with us, working with our faculty and students. They'll be located in this building. Potentially in 2017, but anytime between 2017 and 2024, there may be 2 additional buildings. One of them is a residence hall, and one of them is an academically oriented conference center and hotel. We believe both of these are really important as you think about a campus and all the elements it takes to have a campus that is fully functional and has the right kind of dynamics to have both of them on there. So the residence will house faculty, staff, and students. It will not house 100% of them, but it will house a number of them. And we're still going through the process as to how big that would be and what it exactly would look like. And the conference center, we think, is really important element to a campus like this. This is where we're going to bring in academics from all over the world, and conferences and events and activities that will also, again, be accessible to all of us, that really will give a level of vibrancy to the campus. Full build is in 2037, and so here's your first idea of what this campus may feel like as it's fully built out. And you see a number of additional academic buildings, corporate buildings, and potentially 2 more residence halls. But what I want to highlight here, instead of the buildings, is the open space. So all of this green is community space. And again, this is an initial rendering, but what we've really spent an incredible amount of time talking about is how we think about it adjacent to Manhattan and Queens, taking advantage of the views, but still making it accessible and a lovely place to walk through if you're coming, for example, from the tram or the F train. So here I refer to kind of a Main Street or a tech walk. Potentially, this would be the shape of a tech walk, perhaps with a plaza in the middle, and some kiosks and places to grab a cup of coffee, again, open to everybody. And then it meanders again through the campus and back out here as you go down to Four Freedoms Park. So again, this is the start of a vision. In the coming months, you're going to be seeing a lot more as you shape it. As the old saying goes, you're seeing the sausage being made a little bit, but we really wanted to share with you what we're thinking and more importantly, what the principles are behind that. So now I want to show you a brief video, and this is a video we did for the proposal. So it's again back to that old site plan showing the buildings as we thought about them back then, but it gives you a sense from an aerial view of what the campus may look like in 30 years, if it works. There's some really bad music that usually plays at this site now. For your sake, you'll let me know. So you still see a number of the elements that are in this video in our current thinking about the site plan. Again, the big open spaces, facing the water, and the connections.
Are any of those buildings dorms? Where are the students going to live?
So the question was, are any of the buildings dorms? So none of the residences will be dorms in the traditional sense. Remember, this is a graduate campus, but some of those buildings will be apartments in the residence, and those will be for faculty, staff, and students. So let me finish now before we get to question and answers, just telling you a little bit about next steps. We are in the process of opening a temporary campus. We, in the next month or so, as I believe was mentioned, will be announcing where it is because we're not standing still. We want to get this program up and running. There's so much excitement about this from everybody. So for the next 5 years, we'll be operating a temporary space. We will be hiring faculty and staff. We've had incredible outreach from talented people all over the world that want to work on this campus. So you'll again be seeing some incredible people joining Roosevelt Island. We're very much going to be refining the campus plan. We want your input on this, and so along those lines, we're going to be, and we haven't quite figured out the schedule on this, so I welcome input, but we'll be here on Roosevelt Island. I'm thinking a couple of different ways to get input. One would be some open houses where, frankly, we'll have coffee and dessert or something along those lines. Anybody that wants to drop by can ask questions and get an update as to where we are and give us some feedback. We'll certainly be having more community meetings along these lines. I will point out that I believe it's May 22nd. If somebody's here, they can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm correct, good. On May 22nd here in Roosevelt Island, I believe in this room, there will be a public scoping meeting, and that's where we'll have much more detail. That's run by the city, much more detail on our approach going forward and the start of the environmental review. And then finally, we have just created this email address for all of you. This is a new email address for Roosevelt Island, and please feel free to email us. Just remember that it may take us a little while to get back to you, but we'd be happy to get back to you, so send us your contact information when you do. And with that, I think we'll open it up to questions.